the show we crave, bringing wit to the world's big wave. With snarky lines and hearts so bold, every story brightly told. In a world full of dull old facts, Newsy News fills in the gaps, chasing stories no one knows, with laughter as the story grows. Newsy News every night, making wrongs turn out right. With a giggle and a grin, let the fun times begin. Scandals broken with a wink, politics served with a drink, breaking headlines you might miss, wrapped in an ironic twist. They don't fun at all.
Hello, everyone. It is July 1st, and we are officially done with the Karen Reed trial. So, no Karen Reed news tonight. I refuse. Thank you, Wolfram, for doing all of the mod things every day. Flash fan, I hope you are doing well. I'm doing okay. Kathy Trout, welcome. Alice G, Nanny Go, Audio Coffee. Well, it's been an interesting June, and apparently to wrap up June, we decided to have an all-inclusive brawl in New York or in Washington Square Park. So, uh, Wicked Wookie, I did see, but since the French protest was women mopping topless, I didn't figure that YouTube would be so great with me posting them. But thank you. And ladies of France, if you would like to continue to protest over at my house, I have some baseboards that need to be washed and also floors that need to be mopped. So fight for justice and mop my floors. It's a win for everyone. Good evening, Jedi Jess, and thank you for the Sarah Boone letters. We will be doing a Sarah Shenanigans streams tomorrow, probably. Oh, yes, I've seen the Sarah Boone news. Yeah, I'm not quite sure I have. And honest to goodness, the Karen Reed case has brought out the best and worst of people. Um, it is really weird. You would think this wouldn't be as polarizing as the Rittenhouse case, but it almost seems more personal to some people. Any hoozle. Uh, well, the end of Pride Month was a bit of a, haymaker. Multiple brawls break out in a chaotic scene inside Washington Square Park Pride celebration video shows. I'm sure you guys have seen this on the Twitter, the X, all of the places. YouTube doesn't like when you show, violent brawls unless you're CNN, ABC, NBC, regular news, but they get kind of mad at YouTubers. Multiple brawls and wild chaos engulfed Washington Square Park in the aftermath of New York City's Pride Parade Sunday as police battled to control the unruly mob of revelers, shocking footage shows. Video from a jaw-dropping scene showed fistfights, hair pulling, and several troublemakers turned the crowded park into their own personal boxing ring. While herds of onlookers watched with glee and even whipped out their phones to record the showdowns in lower Manhattan. At one point, two young men threw haymakers at each other before one took a tumble to the ground. Seconds later, two women briefly took swings at each other while a couple of bystanders attempted to break the kerfuffle up. Yep. In another instance of violence, one woman who appeared to be bleeding from her face with dry blood on her white shirt then went loudly cheered, according to footage. Other spats of savagery included one woman pushing another off the edge of the park's iconic water fountain, while another brawler yanked a woman in a pink shirt to the ground by her hair. The young woman in pink continued to be dragged by her counterpart before others finally jumped in to help. When there wasn't violence, yeah, it went full Waffle House after 3. When there wasn't violence, there was plenty of R-rated antics, including multiple women twerking on a white vehicle and one person grinding up against a light pole he climbed atop. Another video shows officers attempting to get a handle of the wild, out of control crowd by putting up barricades around the park as some rabble rousers rushed toward it. As night fell, NYPD played a loudspeaker recording announcing that Washington Square Park's closure was in order and telling people to leave, which led to arguments between the cops and the partygoers. Well, I mean, who'd have guessed? It was not immediately clear if any arrests took place as a result of the fighting. Before the rowdy conduct, New York City celebrated its 54th Pride Parade as thousands of revelers took part to celebrate, well, June in Greenwich Village. During the festivities, people that are upsetty spaghetti with Israel were, kind of blocking things, but they were hauled off by cops near the historic Stonewall Inn, considered the birthplace of the gay rights movement. Police did arrest 22 people during the protest, 16 of whom were given desk appearance tickets and released, while 6 others remain in custody Sunday night. Oh my goodness. Well, audio coffee, we have something to aspire to. Unfortunately, in more bad news for planes and everything else, an aspiring young chef fell from her seat before flight's takeoff and died on the spot. I don't know what in the world happened. A young Melbourne woman has tragically died on an international Qantas flight. Manpreet Kujar had dreams of becoming a chef and boarded the aircraft ready to fly from Melbourne to the Indian city of Delhi on June 20th. This was going to be the first time she would see her family in 4 years, but sadly, she never made it. According to a friend, the 24-year-old student reportedly felt unwell hours before arriving at the airport, but managed to board the flight without any issues. However, when she put on her seatbelt, she apparently fell to the floor and passed away on the spot. The plane was still attached to the gate at Melbourne when the crew and emergency services rushed to help her. When she got on the plane, she was struggling to put her seatbelt on. Her friend Gurjeep Gurdwal told the Herald Sun. Just before the flight started, she fell in front of her to the front of her seat and passed away on the spot. Now, I am not a nurse, I am not a doctorologist, but this might be, and sadly, she might have been feeling really sick to her stomach and not noticed that she had a burst appendix that can go septic. You feel much better after it bursts. That's kind of the warning sign, but you can go septic fairly quickly. Now, again, not a doctorologist, not even a nurse, not even Nurse Ratchet, but I'm sure we will get more. Um, Actually, never mind. I should have just read along with the article. It is understood that Miss Carr likely died of tuberculosis, an infectious disease that mostly affects the lungs, according to the Herald Sun. Her roommate, Kuldeep, said Miss Kuar had worked at the Australian Post while studying cookery, with dreams of one day becoming a chef. She was kind and honest, she told the outlet. She loved to travel with her friends around Victoria. She was finally returning to India to see her parents for the first time since she had moved to Australia in March 2020. A GoFundMe page has been created for her to help her family, I'm sure, get her body back home and, pay for any autopsy to see what happened. Our dear friend Manpreet left us too soon, leaving a void in our lives that can never be filled, the page reads. As we grieve her passing, we want to come together to honor her memory and support her family in their time of need. As we say our final goodbyes, every contribution, big or small, brings us closer to our goal. Your support means the world to us and Manpreet's family. A Qantas spokesperson told news.com.au that their thoughts are with her family and loved one. Now, I do wonder if it's widely conjectured that she had tuberculosis. I don't know that she could work with food. Now, there is a vaccine, there is a test, and but I would think that if you test positive for tuberculosis, which is a highly contagious, you know, respiratory disease, they would not want you working with food, but I don't know how Australia works, and I generally don't like to conjecture about things that I do not know. So we will wait and I will see if there is a report about, what actually happened because tuberculosis is a fairly routine thing test that you have to do when you either enter a country or, leave to go to another country. I don't know what all the regulations are. So hopefully we will get an update because I know the family needs answers, would want answers, especially when someone is so young. Uh, well, I guess I won't be going to a McDonald's very soon. A family allegedly served insect killer as a drink in a restaurant. Quote, scared I was gonna die. For Marcus and Michelle Lemon, it started out like any usual night. The Perth couple had ordered cranberry juice for their daughters, Hannah and Olivia, aged 11 and 12, at an Italian restaurant on Friday night. They were horrified at what happened next to their girls, an incident that's being investigated by health authorities. My daughters just went to gulp it down and they both spat the cranberry juice out and said, "It's poisoned," Michelle told ABC. I said, "Don't be silly." And I took the glass and went to gulp it down, then spat it out at first. I mean, if my kid comes up and says something's poisoned, it might be because the juice has sat in the refrigerator for so much time that it's actually fermented, therefore becoming, Sarah Boone prison hooch. But, I generally if my kid comes up and says, "This tastes funny," I'll sniff it first because, ooh. The concerned parents now claim they had been served a pink-colored solution of citronella torch and lamp oil. How do you mix those up? After smelling the liquids, Marcus demanded the staff at the front counter show him the bottle it came from, and he claims the staff member first refused, simply saying it was old cranberry juice. However, he did eventually get a bottle out from the fridge. The bottle allegedly had the label plus bifferin along on it with a warning. Yeah, this is the bottle they got it out of. It says bite shield. It shows like a little mosquito. Yes, it is red. I see how they tricked you. But if these wordy bits are deciphered correctly, you can see that it's torch oil for the love of all that is holy. The Poisons Information Center advised the family to hurry to Perth's Children's Hospital and Sir Charles Gardner Hospital. The girls suffered from various symptoms and were monitored at the hospital for 6 hours. Quote, "My daughter's stomachs were burning, their fingers and hands were tingling," Michelle said. I mean, how in the name of all that is holy can you not read the wordy bits? Australia, I'm gonna need you to get onto your restaurantology, okay? If only we could read. They had a headache, it was awful, Olivia explained to Nine News. Quote, "I was really scared of what it was and scared I was going to die. It felt like someone had poured fire in your stomach and it felt like you had pins and needles in your arms and legs. They have since been discharged and are home resting." Jedi, Jess, your guess is as good as mine. Why do I find deodorant in the refrigerator? I don't know. But I'm not running a restaurant and I read the wordy bits before I take a big bite of, Old Spice deodorant. Marcus has complained to the health department as well as contacted the local council. The restaurant said it was investigating the incident. News.com.au has contacted its management for further comment. I mean, how? Why? Do I need to run for president or prime minister in Australia too, and defund their federal Department of Education as well? In other news, move over pickleball. We are now standing bocce ball. So if you need a new sport where you don't run, move over pickleball. In this wealthy LA neighborhood, another game reigned supreme. Jimmy Doon hopped off his electric bike, hung his helmet on the handlebars, and hurried over to the three bocce courts at Veterans Gardens just in time to offer his usual tip of the day. Quote, think strategically, the commissioner of the Palisades Bocce Club told the 50 amateur players who had gathered at the park on this chilly gray morning. At 68, he was a relative youngster compared to most of the assembled crowd. If you're playing against a master like Bill Skinner, you're down to the last quarter, go hard. Everyone laughed. Skinner, who is 90 and plays for OBG Old But Great, welcome Slotty Pie joining us over on uh, Rumble. I was like, what is that name of the thing that I was supposed to call it? Uh, let's see here. Beamed, the tournament began. So apparently there are all sorts of different things you need to know for bocce ball. Oh, thanks. Pickleball may have exploded in the wake of the pandemic, but in Pacific Palisades, bocce is king. More than 900 people have joined the Palisades Bocce Club since it began in June 2021. In the spring season, which ended this month, 542 people played regular matches. Games take place 3 times a week, and while winning is nice, it's never been the point. The league prizes community over competition, bringing together neighbors of all generations to connect in the outdoors. Uh, Quote, none of this was ever about bocce, said Dune, a longtime Palisades resident and songwriter who has written for Whitney Houston and Kenny Rogers. It's about celebrating the wonder in our backyard and simple pleasure of having friends in town. The stakes were high on this Tuesday in May. The winning team would head to the championships, but the vibe was decidedly relaxed. Roger Stewart, who's in his 90s, rolled his ball while remaining seated on a bench. Ladies of La Bache Vida wore matching black caps featuring their team name in sparkly pink letters and were more interested in planning a weekend getaway than beating their opponents. And Skinner, a 40-year member of the local Optimist Club, wove through the crowd, cracking jokes until someone told him it was his turn to roll. Now, I will say that I will probably never be a member of the Optimist Club. It's called reality for me. But I want to be more optimistic, so I'm going to try. Dune, dressed in navy blue pants and a navy blue sweater, cheered all of them on, his blue eyes twinkling beneath his pale pink baseball cap. Great shot, just spectacular, he called out. Beautiful, just a little long. Bocce dates back to at least as far back as the Roman Empire and has long been popular in Italy, but interest in the game appears to be surging in the United States. Our explosion is not quite to the pickleball level, but there has been serious uptick since the COOF, said Alex Gara, co-founder of the American, which runs a league with 3,000 players in Chicago as well as national tournaments. Often there's this magical moment where things all come together and a sport grows exponentially, but very quickly. A lot of people feel like that's happening for bocce right now. There are several reasons why bocce has become such a sensation in the wealthy seaside community of Pacific Palisades, according to Dune. It's less physically demanding than tennis or pickleball. Wait a minute, I might have found my sport. Uh, Less athletic. I am good. making it accessible to social activities for Palisades' growing senior population. It's easy to pick up because it relies more on skill and strategy than strength or speed. It's one of the few sports where a 90-year-old might easily beat a 30-year-old. The neighborhood's relatively temperate climate makes it possible for seniors to play outside. Excuse for older players to get out of the house and for younger players to take a break from the relentless churn of parenting and work. It only costs $75 a person to join for a season. Yeah, I'll just sit on the bench and I'm going to need one of those little kid bowler things where you they put the ball on top of the hill and then roll it down. Quote, no one has their credit card in their pocket aside from taking pictures. The youngest, most feral was like, "Do you have any cats in your room? I need a cat." And I was like, "Could we have 5 cats. Can you not play with another?" Uh, it's time off from life, and God, do we need it. Dunn's love affair with bocce began in the summer of 2010 when he stumbled across a park in the French countryside where people of all ages were gathered around what looked like a bocce court. This being France, they were likely playing a similar game, Pentanique. As he took in the scene, a wedding party streamed out of a local church and joined the game. I had never played bocce. I had no idea what it is, but what was magic about it was out at sunset, he said. He vowed to create something similar in Los Angeles. Dune, who was a writer and producer on Happy Days, and counts former LA mayoral candidate Rick Caruso among his closest friend, is the kind of guy who gets things done. Soon after returning from his trip, he convinced the Bel Air Bay Club in Pacific Palisades, where he's a member, to put in 2 bocce courts. Within months, 250 people had joined its league. Word got out, and Dunn helped the game spread to Hillcrest County Country Club in Beverly Hills, and the Griffin Club in Savoy Hills, and the California Club in downtown LA. Breed really rich people. I took in this odd role of being the Pied Piper of bocce, he said, but my interest wasn't in bocce, it was in whether we could create belonging. After a string of successes with country clubs, Dune decided to experiment with building a bocce community that was open to the public. In 2016, he and a group of friends began fundraising to build 3 courts on a patch of dirt near the Palisades Recreational Center. Architect and real estate developer drew up the plans for what became the Veterans Gardens. Today is a beautifully landscaped park with several picnic tables and barbecues in addition to the bocce courts, all of it paid for and maintained by private donations, including from local American Legion Post. The park opened in 2021. So there you go. Bocce is coming for you, and you could get your behind kick and not do anything too super physical. I'm loving it. I'm just not paying to go to a country club. If I wanted to do that, we have a golf club in my neighborhood, and I'm not golfing. In what in the world is going on? An alleged drunk driver who killed an NYPD cop in a Long Island nail salon crash had previous drunk driving rap, passed out behind the wheel before. What an absolute waste of humanity. I mean, why are we giving these people billions and billions of chances driving intoxicated? It is never the intoxicated person that is, hurt. It is always innocent bystanders or things like that. I am so irritated with this. A Long Island driver accused of crashing into a local nail salon and killing four people once drunkenly slammed into a mailbox and passed out behind the wheel, records show. Stephen Schwally, 64, who was arraigned on drunk driving charges Monday in the fatal Friday crash at Hawaii Nail and Spa that killed NYPD cop Amelia Renhack, was also hit with a DWI charge in Dix Hills on March 25th, 2013, records reviewed by the Post revealed. This defendant had struck a mailbox in front of Weather Vane Way and fled the scene. The police report from the earlier mishap reads the defendant was located a short distance away from the intersection of Millet Street and Village Drive West. I mean, look what he did. How? Why? Why do I feel like this is a oh island thing? I mean, the destruction is just unreal. And if anyone was in front there, I mean, they wouldn't have survived. Just absolutely enraging. The defendant was still seated in the driver's seat, the report said. The vehicle's keys were still in the ignition and the engine was on. The defendant was asleep. Schwally pled guilty in the case, records show. On Friday night, he was again allegedly drunk behind the wheels when cops say he drove into the nail salon and killed or injured more than a dozen people inside, including an 11-year-old girl. Schwally was ordered held on $1 million bail in the new case, while Suffolk County grand jury weighs in on more serious charges. Renhack, 30, was having her nails done before a fellow cop's wedding later in the day when she and three others, Janicia Chen, 37, Zhang Zhu, 41, and Mitzi Zhang, 50, were all killed. Rennick had joined the force in 2018 and married a fellow cop, Carl Renhack, with the grieving husband in court to stare down his wife's accused killer on Monday. Schwally was injured in the crash and taken to Good Samaritan Hospital until Monday when he was discharged and escorted to Suffolk County Court by police to face new charges. He has been charged with driving while intoxicated, but is still expected to be hit with additional charges. Meanwhile, the nail salon has become a rallying point for mourning locals who have flooded the scene with flowers and candles and turned it into a community memorial. According to court documents, Schwally had at least one earlier brush with the cops in Suffolk County when he was issued a citation for speaking on his phone while driving in Drix Hill in 2001. Yeah, I mean, this is the juxtaposition. Yes, I get that all of the people in the, Karen Reed case had been imbibing alcohol, and I'm not really happy with any of them for driving home, especially as police officers. When you've seen these kind of cases, when you've seen the destruction that, a distracted or impaired driver could do, how you could justify to yourself possibly putting anyone else in that kind of danger, I don't know. But unfortunately, we lost a police officer who was just getting ready to go celebrate another police officer's wedding, and it's just infuriating. I hope that they charge him within the fullest extent of the law because I'm really okay with that at this point. Now, in odder, weirder, and oh my God, I cannot do it again, but I will if you guys ask me. We have a new ramen noodle flavor in that is, a sign of the end times. No, you are not on Quaaludes. Noodle Cup is wanting you to rethink the way you eat ramen with s'mores flavor. Y'all, I am not kidding you. This is a real thing. Why? Just why? Ramen noodles or ramen isn't the first food to come to mind when you think of sweet treats. Cup of Noodles is trying to change that with a new s'mores flavored instant ramen. The limited edition combines microwavable noodles with a sauce based flavor blend of chocolate, marshmallow, and graham cracker, plus additional sweet mini marshmallows to sprinkle on top. What in the hell nope is this? While this marks Cup of Noodles' first foray into the dessert territory, the noodle maker is no stranger to non traditional ramen pairings. Cup of Noodles Campfire S'mores is the latest in a series of seasonal flavors aimed at bringing on the rapture. Parent company Nissin will sell the $1.18 soup online and at Walmart stores nationally while supplies last. But the cheap image is one of the challenges facing Cup of Noodles, and global data retail analysis Neil Saunders. He sees the brand's experiments with unconventional combinations as an attempt to elevate its project. No, is not this is not an attempt to elevate a product. This is an attempt to make people sick. This is a no, but if I find this at my Walmart, I am buying a cup. I am sending one to Valhalla, and we will do this together that he doesn't know. But I will demand it. It will be a double blind. Oh my gosh, why are we doing this? In interesting news, and I want to get all of this information. I mean it, I really do. They were secret for 16 years. Now a judge has released the Epstein grand jury records. Hmm, maybe we will learn a black box or a blacklist? I don't know. No idea. A Palm Beach County prosecutor painted two girls abused by Jeffrey Epstein as ladies of the night, drug addicts, thieves, and liars in front of a grand jury impaneled in 2006 to review the state's criminal case against each judge. Luis Delgado unsealed the controversial grand jury records on Monday after years of legal action by the Beach Post and other media, including the Miami Herald, CNN, and the New York Times. The grand jury to protect the integrity of the case as well as witnesses. But in the years since the Epstein case was closed in 2008, evidence surfaced that suggested that Epstein and his battery of high priced attorneys may have exerted political influence to taint the state's case. The records have remained under seal for 16 years. Earlier this year, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed an order to release the files by July 1st, noting that unsealing them might explain how the wealthy Epstein managed to quote unquote engineer an outcome the average citizen would likely never have been able to. The records contain nearly 200 pages, including testimony of the two girls who were abused by Epstein, the New York financier, who allegedly abused, well, I mean, I guess convictedly abused a bunch of young women. At his Palm Beach mansion between 1996 and 2008, Epstein managed to escape serious charges, in part because the Beach prosecutor at the time, Barry Krishner, elected to charge him with minor women. Again, can we stop this media? There is no minor prostitution. Minors cannot consent to any of those activities. So I just can't. So instead, this prosecutor was like, no, we'll get you for, pimping out young ones and solicitation rather than bringing felony SA cases. Both Krishner and the lead prosecutor in the case, Lana Beholvik, told Palm Beach police that they didn't intend to prosecute Epstein because they believed that the girls were ladies of the night. Where are these people? What have they done since the Epstein case? Because I can't. I need my where are my Post-it notes? I need to see what these people are up to because how dare they accuse minors who can't consent of anything of being ladies of the night. You're supposed to be, the people that keep even the wealthy. So I'm looking up Krishner tomorrow or Krisher and Beholvik because I want to see what these uh, Class A holes have been up to since they took their alleged, you know, bribe look the other way money. This is all conjecture. I don't know if they did, but how do you go from essaying to young minors to, well, they were already ladies of the night? I mean, what absolute grotesque trash, idea. I mean, even Lolly pretended to fight for justice. These people are gross. But Palm Beach Police Chief Michael Redder and the lead detective Joe Riccari both protested the decision, noting that the victims were as young as 14, and Epstein, who was in his 50s, had used fraud and coercion to lure the girls to his home on the pretense that they would be paid to give him massages. The record released Monday were transcripts of audio recording of the testimony given before the grand jury convened in 2006. Although grand juries are normally convened for murder, step of presenting the case to a grand jury because he was unwilling to allow Palm Beach police to arrest and file charges against the powerfully and politically connected Epstein. The actual audio recordings of the proceedings were not released to the public Monday. The Miami Herald requested the recordings but were told that they were not available. The transcripts also seem to be missing key elements that would normally be part of a grand jury proceeding. For example, there is no record that Beholvik introduced herself to the panel, explained what the case was about, or told the jury what they were supposed to do. There's no closing statement summarizing the case or any documentation of what the grand jury ultimately decided. What is clear is that Beholvik painted an unsympathetic portrait of the girls, both of whom came from broken families. One of the girls and her sister had been passed back and forth between parents and were taken to a school for troubled juveniles. The girls ran away several times before meeting a group of older kids, one of whom brought her to Epstein's mansion. She described for the jury how she was ushered into a large bedroom and instructed to strip down. Just grossness. Uh, Alone in the room with Epstein and confused about what happened, she reluctantly complied. He gave her $200 for, you know, no, this is the prosecutor, Jedi Jess. I need to get these transcripts because I am hecka mad right now. I mean, I can't. Lord Chippy awaits these prosecutors allegedly in Minecraft because how dare you? You are supposed to be the voice for the victims, not a voice for this creepy weirdo. Uh, Behovic asked the girl, "Are you aware that you committed a crime?" The girl, who was 14 at the time she met Epstein, uh, the girl responded, "Now I am. I didn't know it was a crime when I was doing it," said the girl. Like, I don't know. I guess it was, Lady of the Night stuff or something like that. Behovic was also allowed grand jurors to question the victims, and some of them voiced their approval at what they had done. Quote, "Do you have any idea that deep inside you that you are doing what you are doing is wrong?" asked one juror. "Yeah, I did," the girl replied. "Oh, do you?" the juror said, pointing out that the girl should have known that it would harm her reputation. "All right, nope, I'm taking a trip down to Florida. We are rounding up this grand jury, and I am cursing out every single one of them." Because how, what what humanity is lost to you that you see a 14-year-old, you see a 13-year-old who has been abused by someone 50 years old, and you say, "Well, were you wearing a short skirt? Are you sure you didn't ask for it?" What the absolute craptacular is this? Yet, asked by another juror, "Did it ever occur to you that he could have hacked you up?" "Yes," she stammered. "I thought about it a lot." said the juror you should have given it a further thought. David Weinstein, a former federal prosecutor, was astonished at the way the case was presented to the jury. Quote, "How is this not statutory rape?" He said of Epstein's crime. "I can see how people think that a wealthy, powerful man got away with abusing all these girls." Palm Beach detective Joe Recarey led the investigation on the case and testified in detail how Epstein and his assistants would recruit girls from local high schools, telling them initially that they were going to be hired to give him massages. While they were instructed to lie about their ages, many of them told Epstein their real ages and spoke to him about high school. Recarey, who passed away in 2018, told the Herald in an interview prior to his death that he was frustrated by state's attorney's handling of the case, claiming that Kritchner and Bohovic went to great lengths to discredit the girls and failed to present to the jury the corroborating evidence that backed up the girls' stories, including phone records. Neither Krishner or Bohovic has ever commented on the case. Yeah, you should probably change your name and move out of town because I'm thinking people are going to read this and you're not. You are not going to, have a good time. People are going to be a whole lot peeved off, like I am, uh, about this absolute S show of a case. I mean, Lolly wasn't even this bad. Absolutely terrible. Uh, the Miami Herald was unsuccessful in reaching both of them on Monday. Both have since retired. Epstein case came under new scrutiny in 2018, 10 years later, following a series of articles by the Miami Herald that outlined the secret negotiations that led Alex Costa, the federal prosecutor who later oversaw a federal probe, to approve a light jail sentence for Epstein. Epstein would serve just 13 months in Palm Beach County Jail, where he was given liberal privileges to work in his outside office at his Palm Beach mansion. After his release from jail, he continued to abuse women at his homes in New York, New Mexico, Paris, and on his isolated island off the coast of St. Thomas. Harold Series led FBI and U.S. Attorney in New York to take another look at the case. He was rearrested in 2019 on grossness charges and jailed in Manhattan pending trial. He was found, giving himself a blanket neck hug or, beat the heck up, depending on who you ask, which is all of us. We're like, nah. Uh, he was 66. His accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, who's been charged with trafficking people to no one because we still don't have that little black book, was subsequently charged in the case and convicted of trafficking in 2020. Maxwell, a British socialite who is appealing her sentence. I am so irritated by this, you guys. You have no idea. Because if someone came up to my young daughter after she had been abused and questioned her morality, questioned anything but, how are you doing? Are you okay? How can I help? Rabid honey badger energy is going to be going on. And I think that's a feeling that a lot of people are going to have when they read this stuff, because this is absolutely a miscarriage of justice. Those girls should be allowed to sue. And every single one of those jurors that question these young women, shame on you. Just shame. In another big dose of shame, well, it looks like things are moving in the Uvalde case. Uvalde shooting indictments, what to know about charges against the two former school police officers and what comes next. So, I think this has been a long time coming, but the Uvalde police officers are being held accountable for not acting. Now, I don't know how this is going to go because, you know, the Supreme Court has said several times that the police are not obligated to save you. But I think that this is a good move for holding people accountable. More than 2 years after the massacre at Robb Elementary School, In Uvalde left 19 children and 2 teachers dead. A grand jury indicted. Oh, and thank you so much, Broken Baker, for the $100 in not Swedish money. And you are welcome. I had a great time. I hope you got some rest and you got a nap and all the other stuff. A grand jury has indicted 2 former Uvalde school police officers in the botched law enforcement response to the 2022 mass unaliving. Former Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District Police Chief Pete Arredondo and former school police officer Adrian Gonzalez were named in the indictment, which represents the first criminal charges filed in the shooting. The victim's family, who have been fighting for years in search for answers as to why the unaliver was left for 77 minutes with, injured, past, dying, and traumatized children before he was stopped, are still shattered, heartbroken, and grieving. Uh, Quote, we still drown in sadness. There's still a whole lot of anger because these men have walked around for the last 2 years, 1 month and 4 days, walking around like they didn't do anything wrong. Brett Cross, the uncle and guardian of victim Uzziah Garcia, 10, told CNN. Arredondo and Gonzalez were among the 376 law enforcement officers who arrived at the school and did absolutely freaking nothing. Ugh. It took more than an hour to confront and, neutralize the shooter from the time he entered the school through an unlocked door. The response to the attack has been denounced as a, quote, abject failure, end quote, with enough blame to be spread widely. Families are now struggling with mixed emotion. The indictments provided a small measure of hope in their quest for accountability, but with only 2 officers facing charges, they said it's far from enough. Quote, I think these indictments taking these officers off the street so they're never in a position to put others in danger again, that's a win for the community, for Texas. Kimberly Mata Rubio, the mother of victim Lexi Rubio, 10, told CNN, as for the families of the victims, nothing will ever change what happened. What do we want? What we want most, we can't have. We want our children and those 2 teachers back. What's next? Here are some of the answers to your biggest question. Who was indicted and what are the charges? Former Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District Police Chief Pete Arredondo. And thank you, John, for your super chat. The entire town is still covered in murals and thousands of handprints in tribute to the children. Going through that town is a humbling experience. Yeah, I mean, I remember when Nicholas Starro Trial Watch and I read the report with all of the little short, you know, things about each victim. I mean, that was rough. That was so rough. And I was just reading these stories about these children. I wasn't living it as a mom, as an aunt, as a family member, as a community member. So, I mean, absolutely heartbreaking. He surrendered to custody of the Texas Rangers in Uvalde Thursday as an official with the Texas Department of Public Safety told CNN. The former chief was booked on 10 felony charges of child endangerment with known criminal negligence for failing to recognize the incident as an act of, pew-pewing and for failing to take proper action to intervene, the indictment said. According to the filing, the behaviors placed each of the 10 children listed in, quote, imminent danger of bodily injury, death, physical impairment, and mental impairment. Arredondo was hired by the school district in March 2020 and fired in August 2022 for his role in the highly scrutinized law enforcement response on May 24, 2022. For more than 2 years, Arredondo's actions on the day of the, pew-pewing have been under scrutiny from families of victims and survivors and anyone in the general public who just saw them, standing in the hallway with their fingers up their noses. and getting hand sanitizer because, God forbid we get attacked by germs. Ugh. Arredondo's lawyer has not responded to CNN's request for comment. Former school police officer Adrian Gonzalez posted bail Friday and was released after being charged with 29 counts of abandoning and endangering a child. The Uvalde County Sheriff said in a news release. Gonzalez, who was hired by the school district in July 2021, left the department in February 2023. No specific reason was given for Gonzalez's departure, according to Uvalde News Leader. Gonzalez was booked into the Uvalde jail early Friday afternoon, the Uvalde Leader News reported, citing Uvalde County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Brandon McCutcheon. Jail records show both $10,000 bond. The indictment listed Gonzalez as one of the responders to the scene, something that Mata Rubia said that she did not previously know. Quote, as far as Adrian, it's not a name that was on my radar, and I was unaware of the details of his part on that date, said Mata Rubio. 21 people could have gone home that day had Adrian Gonzalez done his job. Now, I do think that this is going to play out a little bit differently than the Scott Peterson, not that one, but the one at the Nicholas Cruz, Stoneman Douglas, because I feel like you have so much shenanigans. No one checked for an unlocked door. No one had a plan. They had just received grant money to go over this active, bad guy training. They didn't find, oh gosh, what I was going to say, like riot boards, riot gears. So it's this is nothing short than complete and utter cowardice and, just shenanigans on these two guys' parts. Let's see. After hearing shots fired and after being advised of the general location of the, pew pewer and having time to respond to the pew pewer, uh, the grand jury said that Adrian Gonzalez failed to engage, distract, or delay the shooter who attempt to engage just oh until the after he entered rooms 111 and 112 of Robb Elementary School and started, taking victims. The indictment states the allegation repeats for each of the 19 children that, lost their lives and the 10 surviving children. The indictment also said that Gonzalez failed to follow his active shooter training in his response. Mr. Gonzalez's position is that he did not violate school district policy or state law, defense attorney Nico Halud told CNN Friday. The application of this statute to law enforcement under these circumstances is unprecedented in the state of Texas. Well, you know what also unprecedented is to have doggone near 400 cops do absolutely BF nothing, as kids are losing their lives. So, spare me. Mo's a little fired up tonight. Look, the Jeffrey Epstein thing just burns my biscuits so bad. Uh, the Uvalde County District Attorney's Office is not planning to file any more indictments in the botched response to the shooting, according to family members who have spoken to the district attorney, Christina Mitchell. Mateo Mata Rubio and Cross told CNN they were informed by Mitchell that there would be no further indictments coming out of the grand jury. The district attorney's office did not respond to CNN's multiple requests for comments. So I do think that this is going to be a whole different kettle of fish than, trying to get that one lone police officer. I in the Stoneman Douglas School. Now, what I do hope is that the prosecution makes this case about these men's failure to act instead of trying to reconvict the pew pewer who is not living. So I really do hope that they really tailor this case to the absolute, lack of action, lack of planning, lack of doing the standard operating procedure that they just trained on. because I think this is going to have a different, you know, ending than that one. I will say that I doubt that they will find a jury in Uvalde that wouldn't convict, so they might and be wise in asking for a change of venue, but I don't think anyone where in America are they gonna find jurors that are going to at least not have some bias. Some people are better at, turning off that bias. I'm not, but, you know. And in our final story, if you have an original copy of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, you might be in big bucks, you guys, because the first edition just sold at auction for $849,750. Now, interesting fact about Mary Shelley, uh, this was actually a now I want to say this name right. There was a big giant volcano that went off the year that Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein that completely changed the weather pattern in all of Europe. So it was dark, it was gloomy, it was stormy. She was there with I think one of her other writer friends, um, and they all challenged each other to write a really spooky story to go with this ambiance, and that's how we got so volcanism brought us Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This has been weird facts that Mo knows for no good reason. The only privately owned first edition of Mary Shelley's pioneering horror novel, Frankenstein, was auctioned for a hair-raising sum of nearly $900,000. The 1818 first edition of Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus, published anonymously in three pink bordered volumes, was sold by Heritage Auctions alongside other prized tomes from the William A. Strutt's library. Quote, this single owner sale, 60 years in the making, and the results are a true testament to a great collector and a market that recognizes the treasures assembled by William Strutt. Francis Walgreen, Heritage Auctions International Director of Rare Books and Manuscripts, said in a news release. The copy of Frankenstein is one of only three pink boarded first editions known to still exist, and the only one in private hands. The other two reside in Fortsmenzer and the Berg collections at New York Public Library. So there you go. Krakatoa, I think that's right, but I want to say it was, I don't know. But there you are. Excuse me. We have all the news. I will try to find the cup of noodles to make Valhalla, join in this act of masochism with me. So, Valhalla, you will not be receiving Luke's glitter, but you will be receiving cup of noodles, campfire s'mores, and we will try this together. I hope you guys have a great evening. I am sending you off to Shizzy. I will be joining him there. I think we are doing more dramatic readings of the Sarah Boone compendium. I love that I just roped you into this and you didn't know. But I hope you guys will join us over there. It's kind of just 2 hours where Shizzy and I try desperately to make each other laugh with funny voices. Thank you guys for joining tonight, and I will see you guys in the morning with all the crazy news that keeps coming out because 2024 is on fire, y'all. I will see you guys in a few minutes over at Shizzy's. Thank you for joining. Please like, subscribe, and share. Maybe your friend needs a friendly, non-black pilling newsy news for the win. So share with them. I will see you guys in a couple minutes. Bye, guys.